The time is 6 p.m. We will now call the regular public meeting of the Board of Trustees of Humboldt Independent School District to order. Our first item is closed session. We're going to adjourn to closed session. Closed session of the board will now be held on matters contained in the notice for this meeting. Should the board determine that any final action, final decision, or final vote be required with regard to any matter considered in such closed session, then such final action, final decision, or final vote will be made upon reconvening of this public meeting in open session. The time is 6:01 p.m. All right. Time is now 7:02 p.m. Thank you for joining us tonight. Reminder, meetings of the board are open to the public, but are not a meeting of the public. Humboldt ISD Board of Trustees meets monthly in a regular meeting to receive reports from staff and to take action from recommendations of the superintendent. There are students and other guests present. To maintain decorum, respectful behavior is expected. Disruptive behavior and/or comments will not be allowed. And with that, our first item, our Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Parker, would you lead us in the pledges?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please join me in a moment of prayer. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. Moving to our next item on the agenda, commendations and recognitions. Dr. Fagan, would you please introduce Inspiring Moments?
Thank you, Mr. President. January is School Board Recognition Month throughout the state of Texas. School board members are volunteers. They donate hundreds of hours to attend meetings, consider issues, set policies, and participate in student and community events. They are dedicated to making Humboldt ISD a wonderful place for all students to learn, live, and grow. Our inspiring moment gives insight into some projects the Humboldt ISD Board of Trustees have supported to enhance our student learning experiences.
It's 2024, a new year, and exciting new things are happening in Humboldt ISD. We appreciate our Board of Trustees for making sure students have what they need to learn, grow, and pursue their dreams.
Prism's technology has brought virtual reality into my classroom. My biology students have had the opportunity to see biology in a new light this year.
Prism's VR has helped me get a more hands-on experience with biology, and it really brings it to life and makes it a lot more fun and vivid.
So thank you to the Board of Trustees for your continuing support with cutting-edge technology.
This is our brand new fitness course. It keeps me active and healthy through the year. This course takes my fitness to the next level. It's challenging and fun too. Thank you, Board of Trustees, for caring about our well-being.
By approving the EMT program, not only are you allowing me to get a job in college, but also get early clinical experience for my dream to apply to physician assistant school. Thank you, Humboldt ISD Board of Trustees. You're not only investing in EMT program, but investing in my future.
This new space-themed playground takes recess to the next level. I get to be active, have fun, and this playground takes me out of this world. Thank you, Board of Trustees, for making this possible.
Having these state-of-the-art tools,
funded by Bond 2022, of course,
has really helped to take my lessons to the next level. Thank you for making this possible.
I've been playing this game of baseball since I was a little kid. Next year, I'll be taking all my talents to the University of Texas. Because of the Board Trustees' support, me and my team has a state-of-the-art turf field. Thank you.
I want to go to college for stage management and production, and thanks to the Board of Trustees' help, we now have a new state-of-the-art pack to help me achieve my goals and dreams. Thank you.
As you can see, the Humble ISD Board of Trustees helps these students pursue their passions. That's why we say a thank you for all your hard work for the students and staff of Humble ISD. Happy School Board Recognition Month.
Thank you, Board of Trustees.
Let's go play.
Let's go.
I still got the mic on.
Oh, God.
As you all know, these impactful projects would not be possible without the support of our school board. Thank you so much for contributing to the dreams of all of our students and making this such a wonderful place to work and live for our staff. All right, next. Providing excellent educational opportunities involves collaborating with key partners. Earlier today, the Office of Harris County Commissioner Tom S. Ramsey dropped off recognition certificates for our Board of Trustees. And tonight, we are honored to have with us our State Board of Education member, Dr. Audrey Young.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I appreciate it. This over a little bit. I just wanted to say a few words to you. I am, good evening, Superintendent Fagan, President Scarfo, members of the board, staff, students, and community. I'm Dr. Audrey Young, and I am your State Board of Education Representative, District 8. I drove here today from Nacogdoches ISD, where I am the Executive Director of Student Support Services and Special Education. That's my real job during the day, to come support you tonight and thank your amazing board. Thank you for your dedication to the students of Humble ISD. Public service is a calling. Public service is demanding. It's unforgiving, but most of the time it's hugely rewarding. And when we see students succeed, and we see progress across the district, then we know that the work that y'all have done is fabulous. As a fellow former school board trustee, I want to thank you for taking time out of your own personal lives in dedication to Humble ISD. Thank you for the late nights, the early mornings, the hours and hours of meetings, and the thousands of documents that y'all read in preparation for these meetings. It's overwhelming. You dedicate your free time in order to ensure that your school district is doing its best for students. And yet, the value of your work is priceless. Thank you. There's no doubt that you have your heart in what you do as a board trustee, because we know it's not for the pay or for the recognition. I hope that the community knows that you do this job for free. And maybe you get a t-shirt or a pass to a ball game, but you still have to buy your Frito pie and your sausage on a stick. So please continue to serve with your heart. The students will forever benefit from your valuable work. I am proud of your work that you do, and I appreciate the opportunity to present a certificate of commendation to each member of the Humble ISD Board of Trustees during School Board Appreciation Month. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Young, for traveling all this way. We thought we had the only board member with red glasses. Now we know. Thank you again for coming all this way and being part of our celebration tonight. We appreciate. Next, to celebrate all that you do, board members will find at their seats a commemorative book featuring photos from the past year, as well as cards and letters submitted by students from the following campuses: Bear Branch Elementary, Jack Fields Elementary, North Bend Elementary, Park Lakes Elementary, River Pines Elementary, Creekwood Middle School, and Humble Middle School. The ceramic photo frames were created by art club students at Deerwood Elementary School. I don't know if any of you have these things to like Vanna White hair, but yeah, they're in their bags. Okay. So the flower lapel pins were created by 4th grade art students at Summerwood Elementary School. There is also a UIL state runner-up medal from Summer Creek's historic football season. Those are pretty good looking. Yep, silver medals. There is also the program from the Summer Creek High School Orchestra's performance at the Midwest Clinic in Chicago. This is good. Yes. Thank you so much for supporting our teachers and our campuses in doing what is best for our students in partnership with our parents. We appreciate it. And that's not all. Next, our community has long-standing traditions of supporting students who raise animals through our ag program. Tonight, the FFA students are here to tell us more about that event. So welcome. Here they come. Their annual visit to the board meeting. It's good to see all of you.
You know, you guys can come more often. You don't have to wait till just when the rodeo's coming. There you go.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Fagan. My name is Kennedy Walton, and I am the president of the Summer Creek FFA chapter. The FFA members would like to invite you and our community to our annual livestock show auction. Our shows will begin on January 30th, which is a Monday, and extend through Thursday, February 1st, at the Humble Civic Center and Arena. We would not be here today without the generous support of our community members, and would like to take this opportunity to express our appreciation and our gratitude to the City of Humble, as well as the Humble Civic Center, for our valued partnership for the Humble ISD Livestock Show and Auction. The Humble ISD Livestock Show and Auction would not be a possible or success without your valued support. Participating at a buyer at the annual auction allows students like myself to have financial assistance for future animal projects, as well as educational expenses. Once again, this year our auction will be held at the Humble Civic Center on February 1st, and we would love to see y'all there.
Hello, my name is Sanaya Johnson. I am a junior at Humble High School, and this year I'm raising a steer for the 2024 Humble Livestock Show. Tonight I'm going to be telling you about one of our unique traditions that we have, which is our Unified Show, our 3rd annual at that. So by doing this gives our Humble ISD special needs students an opportunity to experience agriculture by showing either a lamb or a goat with an FFA buddy. This builds lifelong bonds and shows our very urban community our agricultural roots, while also exemplifying the last line of our FFA motto, living to serve. So we hope to see you all on January 31st at the Humble Civic Center Arena to cheer on our FFA athletes and FFA buddies.
My name is Amory Sokol, and I'm a senior at Kingwood Park High School. This year I'm raising a steer and chickens for the Humble Show, as well as a pig for Houston. As FFA members and students in agriculture courses, we are grateful for our Humble ISD community for supporting our programs by providing great facilities through bonds and other fundings. Atascocita, Summer Creek, and Humble house their animals at the South Ag Barns. Every year in October, they host a community event called Boo at the Barn, which sees thousands of community members who tour our facilities, have fun family time, and play games. Students at Kingwood Park High School and Kingwood High School are excited to be raising our animals in the North Ag Barns, which just opened a year ago. Every year, we host Santa's Farm for our community, which sees thousands on the second Friday in December. We hope you have had the opportunity to visit these 2 events. If not, we hope to see you next year.
My name is Marley Linseth, and I am a senior at Kingwood High School. This year, I am raising pigs and turkeys. The auction and livestock show is truly only a small part of what we do in our FFA programs. We as students compete in career development events, and leadership development events that help us gain vital life skills such as leadership, teamwork, and responsibility. The Humble ISD FFA chapters have had many successes this year. We had 27 students fill out detailed record and expense reports in order to gain their Lone Star FFA degrees. This is the highest degree the Texas FFA offers. Additionally, the Kingwood FFA chapter earned their National FFA Chapter Award. This is the highest award that an FFA chapter can earn. We had 16 teams advance to the area leadership development contests. This year, we also have 2 district FFA officers and 1 area FFA officer. District officers serve 18 chapters in the Lake Houston district, and an area officer serves over 100 chapters in the Southeast Texas area. I have personally had some of the most important life lessons taught to me through this program. Through FFA, I have learned skills that have rewarded me with a strong work ethic that will better help me for my future. Thank you so much for the continued support of our programs, which allow us to excel.
My name is Sarah Kiesecker, and I am the Atascocita FFA president. This year, I am raising a lamb as well as rabbits. Now, every year we have the pleasure of dedicating the Humble ISD Livestock Show to a certain individual who has gone above and beyond in the Humble community. This year, our show is dedicated to Mr. Darren Skiro. Mr. Skiro has not only purchased animals through the annual auction, but has also supported students like myself through our freezer sale. While he does not like to be in the spotlight, his impact has been felt in our community through various acts of kindness. During Hurricane Harvey, as many of you remember, our Lake Houston community was severely impacted from flooding. In the aftermath of Harvey, Mr. Skiro found a way to be a blessing to many others who had lost so much. Skiro's Furniture graciously gifted furniture to many families who were in desperate need during that time. Mr. Skiro is an avid supporter of the Humble ISD Livestock Show and continues to be an integral part of the Humble community. We are thrilled to dedicate the 77th Annual Humble ISD Livestock Show and Auction to Mr. Darren Skiro. Thank you, school board members, for all you do for the students like myself, our teachers, and our community. We look forward to seeing y'all at the 2024 Humble ISD Livestock Show and Auction.
Thank you so much for being here, and you all are some well-spoken ladies.
Very well-spoken.
Very well-spoken, yes. Oh, thank you. That was so impressive.
Dr. Fagan, though, the young men in the FFA, they're really falling down the job. 5 lady presidents. Guys, pick it up. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy as a female leader to see so many female leaders myself. I'm just going to put that out there. So, yes. So congratulations.
I think that's a challenge, guys. I think it's a challenge.
So congratulations to all of you. Excellent speeches. Congratulations on raising all of your animals and bringing all these treats. And you can come back anytime. We'd love to have you. So we hope to see you soon. All right. I believe that concludes all of our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan. And now we will move on. Our next item is public comment. The board encourages comments from citizens of the district or from district employees. Anyone wishing to speak, either as an individual or as a representative of a group, may do so following the procedure outlined on the agenda. The board asks that the comments pertain to public education issues, and tonight, given the number of speakers, we will be limited to 2 minutes. Remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda for tonight's meeting. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion until the appropriate time during the meeting. Copies of our district policies on public participation in meetings and filing complaints are available on Humble ISD's website. And I'm going to start, and Ms. Mount's up here at the front. I'm going to call groups of 4 up. And I'm going to start, though, tonight. We do have 4 members of a Girl Scout troop. Unfortunately, I do not, on my information, have what troop it is. So if Miss Akazi, Miss Kesuba, Miss Knight, and Miss Farber will make their way up to the front, they will be our first speakers.
Are you Stephanie? Okay. Amelia, okay. Whoever's going to speak first, y'all can all stand here.
My name is Amelia, and thank you for supporting Girl Scouts. Being a Girl Scout is important to me because I get to learn valuable life skills, like valuable life skills and valuable business and life skills with Girl Scout cookies, and we get to be involved with the community. Something funny about me is the way I found out about Girl Scouts is from a Girl Scout cookie box.
Hi, my name is Ariana. I'm a cadet for Troop 118071, and I would just like to thank you for letting Girl Scouts use all your schools for the district to host meetings and other events. We really appreciate it, and it really makes an impact on all of our troop leaders and all of our young Girl Scouts in the district, so thank you so much.
I want you to read it. Okay. Well, I'll help her read it. Can you say hi? Say who you are. Hi. My name is Madeline Knight, and what grade are you in?
Second.
Where at?
At Tascasita Springs Elementary School.
Okay, and our troop is 118071. We're all part of that. And we have members from daisies to seniors, so that's kindergarten, all the way up to juniors in high school. And who's this?
This is my little sister Millie.
No way. Why did we join Girl Scouts? What did we see?
We joined Girl Scouts because we saw
We saw a sign on our school grounds.
We saw a sign on our school grounds.
Okay,
Thank you for supporting Girl Scouts with the use of buildings and facilities. In Humble ISD, we are able to meet, build skills, and grow to support our community while reaching our neighbors. Our troop is ambitious, and we are excited to continue earning badges. Thank you for helping us strive to be prepared, resourceful, become leaders like yourselves, track our accomplishments, work with others, and serve our community. Thank you also for buying Girl Scout cookies.
Thank you, ladies. And Maddie, it took a couple of seconds for you to get, but man, you started going down that track. Awesome job. Great, great job.
That's a lot of badges, too.
Yeah, it does. Okay, I'm going to call up the next group of 4 if they'd make their way up. Pastor Parkinson, Mr. Ford, Ms. Chilla, and Ms. Shannon.
Good evening, and
Pastor, you ready? Okay, I just want to make sure you got your time. Okay.
good evening and Happy New Year. My name is Ruth Parkinson. My husband and I pastor Words of Life Church of Humble and Shalom Hebraic Christian Congregation. We are the donors of the In God We Trust framed posters that you have seen, and they're in every single school in the district. We also have head up a group of praying people that have gone to every single school in the district. It's taken us about 2.5 years to complete, but as of December, we finished the entire 48 schools in the district and prayed for over every school. And I'm here today in support of the Chaplain Bill, SB 763. I truly believe it's a positive step towards meeting the emotional and spiritual needs of our students. You know, the unprecedented difficulties facing our children is a great concern to us. I believe students' spiritual strength and faith can help them through difficult times. This makes having pastoral care available for the children at school of a great value. Students shouldn't have to wait until Sunday to get spiritual support. That's not enough to combat the pressures they face. They need for stability that can only be found in God. Students need extra encouragement to obtain a positive outlook, and a chaplain can help provide this. I'm asking you to consider adding chaplains to each school, which will add greater assistance to your present counselors. The positive influence of a chaplain can inspire students to achieve more in their academics and help produce a healthier attitude. Proverbs 1:7 states, "The fear or respect of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge." According to this scripture, having a godly outlook will help them in their learning. If we leave God out, how will they have stability in their lives and increase in learning? Allowing a chaplain to be present at each campus is a direct show of support to the students from this board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ford?
Happy New Year. My name is Scott Ford. I'm a teacher in the district. And I wanted to talk briefly about something that I emailed all of you about, which is the IT Fundamentals Certification Review and Boot Camp. Tickets went on sale. They're free for students, faculty, staff, parents, and guardians. And we already have 35 who have committed to attending. Most of these are students in the district. They're giving up their February vacation to learn this material in preparation for certification. I have students coming from Atascocita High School, which is my home campus. I have students coming from the early college program, Summer Creek, Kingwood, K Park. Pretty much every high school will have a student there in attendance, as well as some faculty and staff. So this is pretty cool. This was amazing to have students do this on their own and give up a vacation to do this. I think this is a huge turning point in the district as far as making us one of the top districts for IT certification. Which brings another point up. As we are starting to look at course selection for parents and guardians at home, there's a Principles of Information Technology class that is a 1 hour a day course, and it's available in our district, but the students have to request it. Now, next year will be my last year in the district teaching. I came back from corporate to give 3 years to the district to rebuild the IT program and make it one of the best. When I left, that's actually what launched my career. And so I would be very happy to help any campus, any high school campus who wants to offer this course to their students, even if it's a remote thing where I've got to call in. But next year I'd be happy to help any teachers at any campuses develop this curriculum and make sure it's successful. We also have computer maintenance and networking, which is good for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. It's a double block class. And we transport kids onto our campuses, both north of the river and south of the river, where they can work on computer certification. And our brand new one is cybersecurity, which is going to be huge. So that's all the time I have. Thank you very much for your time. And remember, Schoology is the worst.
Thanks for that reminder, Mr. Ms. Shelley?
Hello. I came here today to talk about reasons against regional trustee districts. The vote may be irrevocable, and we should not vote on this until we fully understand the legal ramifications. It may foster regional divisiveness. Trustees may take the view that they should vote in the interest of their region rather than the entire school district. We should take the time to examine the experience of other districts in Texas that have regional trustees. The talent pool of trustee applicants may be greatly restricted if residency is a relatively small district. Low vote regions would have undue influence in district voting, and the manner in which the redistricting process is carried out may make Humble ISD susceptible to VRA litigation and civil lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shannon?
Thank you. School chaplains are legal and are consistently upheld by the Supreme Court. Chaplains offer services based on consent, and they are prohibited from proselytizing. They do not represent religion or a church. They represent God. Chaplains go into schools after tragedies occur. Why not permit them to be there before to provide services to students and staff in need? Chaplains are trained in suicide prevention, substance abuse, and managing emergency threats. The district has been in favor of additional layers of support when it came from secular psychologists who adhere to gender ideology. The only reason the district would oppose chaplains is because there is viewpoint discrimination. Will this body vote with God or against God? I shudder to think of the consequences if it is against. And I will add, there's been some communication on the dais, off the mic, private conversations, and I believe that's a violation of the Open Meetings Act. Please direct any inquiry to the parliamentarian lawyer that the district pays. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the next four people I'm going to ask to come up are Dr. Hutzel, Larissa Powell, Eric Willing, and Ms. Bonscomi. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent. I'm here just to show my support and ask for you to show your support for the chaplain bill and getting chaplains to come into the schools and school district. Chaplains have well been established, obviously, in the hospital setting, and that's where I am from. I'm a pediatrician, and I serve the greater Houston area. And when I say the greater Houston area, I mean the greater Houston area. I do home visits, so I've been all over this city, and I've seen a lot. And I'm asking right now, just from the basis of just being in the hospital and seeing what chaplains do and the support that they bring to patients in the hospital, there's a growing body of evidence that shows that people who have connection with chaplains in the hospital have shorter hospital stays, they have less nursing interventions, and they have less need for pain medications. So that is a win-win. Several communities all over the world have actually have chaplaincy programs in their schools, and with pretty good success. Chaplains are known throughout the schools to bring bridge building within the school community, more community building, and they have the tendency to tend to the heart and the soul of the school. And the beautiful thing about a chaplaincy program is it's not just for the students. Teachers also benefit from having chaplains in the school. So I urge you to strongly consider this, and I did it in less than 2 minutes. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Powell.
Good evening. I just wanted to take some time and remind the board members of the ethics, the BBF local policy located on the Humble ISD website. We have to do better for our children. The board members' code of ethics. As a member of the board, I shall promote the best interest of the district as a whole and shall adhere to the following ethical standards. I will be fair. I will be impartial in all my decisions and action. I will accord others with respect I wish for myself. I will encourage expression of different opinions and listen with an open mind and idea. I will be accountable to the public by accurately communicating district policies, programs, priorities, and progress. I will work to ensure prudent and accountable use of district resources. I will make no personal promise to take private action that may compromise my performance or responsibilities. I will tell the truth. I will share my views while working for the consensus. I will respect the majority decision as the decision of the board. I will base my decisions on fact rather than superstition, opinion, or public favor. I will refuse to surrender judgment to any individual or group at the expense of the district as a whole. I will consistently uphold all applicable laws, rules, policies, and government procedures. I will not disclose information that is confidential by law. I will focus my attention on fulfilling the board's responsibility. I will diligently prepare for and attend board meetings. And I'm going to just skip a couple. I will continuously guide by what is best for all students of the district. Again, we need to get back to what is best for all students of the district, every gender, every race, every color, every religious background. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Willing?
Well, it may be a surprise to hear, but there is deep disappointment and frustration with Humble ISD School Board's current state of affairs. It is clear that the board has lost sight of their primary duty and responsibility, which is to serve the best interest of the students in the community. We all sadly share some of the blame in this. While everyone is entitled to privacy in their lives outside your role as a trustee, choices you make are not a concern until they become a concern. They become a concern when choices made impact not only the functionality of the district, but its integrity as well. They become a concern when credence is given to faux morality and culture wars and do not respect the diversity and dignity of our students, staff, and families. They become a concern when outside influences that have no stake or accountability in our district are valued more than the expertise and input of teachers, administrators, and counselors. They become a concern when there is cultivation of private audiences, using them to bash other parents by name and conspire against those who think differently. They become a concern when professional, financial, and political enrichment, with no accountability, undermine the public trust in the democratic process, all at the expense of the students in the community, one which you voluntarily serve. They become a concern when parliamentary procedure and Open Meetings Act are disregarded. They become a concern when you add up the wasted time, money, and resources on lawsuits, unnecessary investigations, political grandstanding, while neglecting the urgent issues that affect our students' learning and well-being. At the risk of undoing all the good work that the school board has been able to accomplish, we insist the board respect the rules and conduct its business in an ethical, transparent, and accountable manner. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Benscombe, am I saying that properly?
Bencosme. Thank you. So good evening. I am Feb Bencosme, and I'm a concerned neighbor. I'm here to implore upon you, the board, to reconsider or even abandon this proposal to reshape your board to a single-member district representation. The idea is divisive at best, and frankly, it's un-American. Instead, the school board should focus on maintaining a learning environment in which discrimination is prohibited and aim to ensure that every individual is treated fairly as an individual regardless of race, further referred to here as skin color or socioeconomic status. As examples, the board should, number one, it should prioritize students for instruction, services, or support, or it should not prioritize students for instruction, services, or support based on skin color. It should not attempt to balance districts, classrooms, teams, sports clubs, or other groups based on skin color. It should not attempt to alter or adjust school policies, the enforcement of school policies, or any outcomes, such as discipline outcomes or academic outcomes based on skin color. It should not disaggregate data in such a way as to evaluate student or staff performance based on skin color. It should not require, support, endorse, permit, or facilitate the segregation by skin color in any way of any person, including students and teachers, into so-called racial affinity groups. Overall, it should be the policy of this school district to ensure that all individuals are treated as individuals and not as members of socially constructed groups. In short, the district should act in a colorblind manner towards everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we'll finish with Mr. Laurie, Ms. Guide, Pastor Lacey, Chaplain La'a, if I said, and then we'll have one more speaker after that. Mr. Laurie, I'm sorry, before you start, the last speaker I have is Ms. Smith. And Mr. Laurie's finished, if you can make your way up and be in the bullpen. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Laurie.
When a politician wants to deliver bad news, they often share on a Friday afternoon to be in the Saturday news cycle, but nobody is paying attention. When a governing body wants to make major changes, they do it in the dead of night or over the holiday season. I ask, why would you provide only 30 days notice and during the holiday season to make substantial and irreversible changes to our election system? It's because this is clearly your strategy. Please, identify the problem that you see, then have an open debate. Allow time for actual public comment on your reasoning, which is currently a secret. Have you all been discussing this privately with another? Do you know how you're going to vote? Can you identify a school district where this has produced a positive result? Any school district. Are you prepared for potential litigation for violations of the Voting Rights Act or civil suits claiming disenfranchisement? Are you claiming that you, current board members, are not responsive to the current students? Will regional district trustees be competing against one another for their constituents, for their small group of constituents, instead of working for the betterment of all kids and all staff across the district? If we are discussing the concept of fairness, how is it fair that low voter turnout, those districts only need a fraction of the number of votes to win compared to a high voter turnout area? What is not being discussed is the next logical step and the next historical step. They will add more trustees to gerrymander the districts further. It is inevitable.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. Ms. Guide?
Good evening. Happy New Year. It's a season for resolutions, okay, and to make new resolutions. And I'd like to challenge this board to make a resolution to be transparent and stop hiding and changing laws and making laws different. We have two examples of how you are not transparent or possibly not going to be transparent. I want to address Foster Elementary. We have asked repeatedly for a public hearing on that so that parents could voice their concerns about kids being sprinkled all over Kingwood and fourth graders being put in middle schools and all the other plans that you have. As opposed to being put in Lakewood, which is a very plausible way to handle this. But this district or the superintendent or somebody doesn't want to really talk about it, and I really challenge you before you go voting what to do at Foster Elementary to actually ask the parents who have children in Foster Elementary. The other is this idea to redistrict. And first of all, I want to point your attention to the words on that says Humble Independent School District. You are already a district. You don't further subdivide a district. The solution would be if you think this district is too big and not equally represented, split it in half, okay? Because maybe it's too big. Maybe that's the real problem here. However, what I actually see is going on here is that this idea is being promulgated by a rogue board member that feels like that maybe seats are in jeopardy. We don't want a turnover of 4 board members. And maybe this is all being done to save Liz Fagan and her husband's jobs. I said, I have to ask that question considering everything that's going on with this board. I really want you guys to get back to the job of education. The Peyton Place, or those of you that don't know General Hospital, nature of this board has really got to stop. So I ask you to make a resolution to go back to educating children and stop the nonsense so I don't have to keep coming back every month and I can stay home.
Thank you, Ms. Guide. Pastor Lacey, you were next.
Good evening, school board. I would like to discuss single district representation. Our country is founded upon that. We have statewide regions that a politician represents across our country. We represent certain regions and geographic areas. I just have a few reasons that I feel like this would be beneficial to the school district. First would be localized focus. Representatives within a single district can advocate for resources and policies that specifically address the unique needs of their area while talking with their local school board representative. 2, community involvement. The closer connection between elected officials and local community would, I believe, increase community turnout as well as voter turnout. 3, responsive decision-making. Single district representation enables quicker responses to issues that are affecting a specific school, a specific neighborhood. I know of a few instances where it has taken a while because of this issue. I believe these things can positively affect student outcomes, especially the students that are in economically disadvantaged situations. This could also help with resource allocations so that all of our kids can enjoy the benefits of all of the resources that Humble ISD has to provide. This is a great school district. This is a great place to live. It should be a better place for our citizens that are economically disadvantaged and give them someone to talk to about issues that are affecting them. Thank you.
Thank you. Chaplain? And Ms. Smith, are you in the audience? Stacy Smith was our next speaker, or last speaker on the list? No? Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Fagan, President Scarfo, and board trustees and guests. It is an honor to be with you this evening. My name is Chaplain Brian Blaha. I am currently a chaplain with the Houston Police Department, the Police and Clergy Alliance, PACO for short, and I'm also a resident of Humble, Texas. Yes. I've been here for 20 years. I'm also a member of the Lord's Glory Church with Pastors Tom and Shar Battle, which are here. And I come to you this evening in support of the State of Texas Senate Bill 763 that allows each school in Texas to have a chaplain on campus. For the past year, I've attended prayer meetings to all 48 schools of this district, and what a blessing it was with Pastor Ruth. And I encourage you to do this. I am also a United States Army veteran, and let me tell you, we're the strongest men and women on the face of this planet that serves this great country. They need a chaplain. Our politicians up in Washington, D.C. and Austin, they need a chaplain. The Humble School Board needs a chaplain. But most of our children in this district need a chaplain. I mean, they are a great benefit, like that precious doctor said. There is a benefit. I mean, you have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. And that's the whole reason that all of us are here, is for one reason, is for our children of this district. So I hope and I pray that you would vote on it and approve it. And I volunteer already to be one of them. Well, God bless you, and I want to thank you for your time. And God bless Humble, Texas. God bless America. God bless y'all. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry? No, she's not here. Okay. All right, that concludes our portion of public speakers. Next on the agenda are comments by individual board members. Mr. Sitton, you go to my left.
No comment.
Okay. Mr. Holmes?
No comment.
Ms. Lamont Dixon?
No comment.
Mr. Grabowski?
I got a comment. Up and coming, I
sit on the foundation committee, but this is, as a representative, but this is not an update on the committee. But just a reminder, up and coming for plans, FFA students, could they speak or what? Man, that extemporaneously, that's amazing. But the cook-off, if I get these dates right, this Friday the 26th and Saturday 27th, the auction February 1st, and the rodeo 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of February. Please support, please support, please support. A lot of that helps out the foundation committee and in turn helps out the students, which is really what we're all about. Again, thank you to all the speakers. I greatly appreciate that you take the time, you come up and speak your opinion. That's what we need more of. Thank you.
Kirchhoffer?
Thank you, Mr. President. On Christmas morning, Humble Elementary teacher and literacy coach Tommy Dotson lost her courageous battle, 16-month battle with cancer. Tommy leaves behind her loving husband, Brad, of more than 20 years, son, Noah, sophomore at Tasseta High School, and Aiden, 7th grader AMS. Most people don't know that Tommy worked up to 2 weeks before she passed, and just her love of teaching, her willingness at all costs to help each and every child she worked with to succeed is a tremendous loss for our district. Tommy was a private person. She'd be mad I'm even reading anything. I know she's watching. But she was very private, never wanting accolades or recognition. She taught all of us to smile, that each day is a gift. We'll miss Tommy.
Thank you, Mr. Kirchhoffer. Mrs. Parker?
Mr. Kirchhoffer, I'm very sorry for y'all's loss. Very, very sorry. I really don't have a comment. Can I, may I state for the record what I said, side chatter to Mr. Kirchhoffer? May I state for the record what I said?
If it was responsive to public comment, then no.
Okay. All right. It wasn't responsive. Okay.
Err on the side of caution. Okay. My only comments are, I thank everyone for coming also to speak and for your opinions and presenting them. Appreciate that. It's very important that people are engaged in the business of the district along with us. So that's very much appreciated. You take your time out to be here in person. And also want to thank, behind us, in front of us, all these. This is a great month for being on school board. It's really awesome. It's really great. And it's going to take a while to eat through all of that and wear all of that. So thank you, everybody who did that. It's very much appreciated. Dr. Fagan?
Well, happy Board Recognition Month, and I'm glad that we had such wonderful speakers here and gifts and all of those kind of things to recognize your gift of service to the district and the hours that you spend doing the work of this board. So it's a lot of hours, and I know that you all put in a lot of time and take away from your families and your careers, so we thank you for that. I'm excited that we have some presentation tonight on Foster Elementary to correct some misinformation that was shared, because I think it's important that we put correct information out there for everybody to have and digest. And so I'm looking forward to that particular item as well as the PASA presentation. And we've had a good start coming back, and we're looking forward to a great semester. And somebody already mentioned this, I think it was Mr. Ford, but ready or not, we're ready for course selections for next year, because remember, we ask our students, what would you like to take? We offer them everything under the sun and then some. And then that is exactly what we use to build all of our staffing, all of our budget, because we want to make sure we offer what our students want to take. So we're excited for that to start up and bring back that budget that represents what the Humble ISD students are most interested in their personal passions. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan. Okay, so our next is actions from closed session. Mr. Sitton, under personnel recommendations, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. President, I move the board approve the administration's personnel recommendations as presented in closed session with addendum.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, 7-0. Next is action items. First is item 5A, adoption of the district calendar for 2024-25 school year. And Mr. Sitton, do I have a motion?
I move that the board approve the proposed Humble ISD 2024-2025 calendar as presented in attachment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Gabrowski.
Some feedback from friends and others. With the one letter going out said it very similarly matches the previous year's calendars, but the week in February has been moved by a week. A lot of people had cruises and tickets and safaris, and wish I was going on a safari, but I'm not. But could you explain the rationale so they will understand, please?
Yes, we talked about this at length. It is a different week, but it's the same number of instructional days from the end of the holiday break to that February break. And so that was how it was determined. And there are a lot of folks, these are those kind of 50-50 issues, but there are a lot of folks that have wanted us to align to some surrounding districts' calendars because we have a lot of staff that they live in another district or their children do. And we haven't done that historically because we've had reasons why we couldn't, but this number of instructional days just happens to line up. And so there's a lot of people that are really happy about that part, but I agree it did move it off of what some people thought was the vacation planning issue, but it really does come down to the number of instructional days.
Did it also, the Christmas break was slightly shifted, so that kind of impacted?
That's exactly right. So the way that Christmas is on the calendar, we get out for the holiday break much later than we did this year, for example. But that's just the way that that happens from time to time, and then that sort of dictates when the winter holiday is.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. Next item is item 5B, single-member trustee district. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I have a motion.
Okay.
I move that the board hold a public hearing in February of 2024 and direct the administration to post the appropriate notice to hear feedback from the public and to begin the process for the Humble Independent School District Board of Trustees to consider moving from 7 at-large positions to 5 single-member districts and 2 at-large positions.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Okay, discussion?
Yeah, I'll kind of start. I apologize for my voice. I've been under the weather for about 10 days now. I did some research on this. There's not a ton of white papers out there on school districts, but University of Houston has a really good research project that they did comparing at-large versus single-member districts, and they really look at it more from a metropolitan area, city council type situation. And I have never been a proponent of single-member districts because I truly believe that when we're elected to represent everyone in the district. The problem comes into play when certain factions get involved and not every trustee is in it for every student in the district. And I don't know if we're there. I don't know if we're headed there. It makes me nervous because when you have an area that is a fast growth area, And we've had such dramatic growth over the years. And you see the diversity in student body. You see the diversity in staff. And are all of those areas represented? I think it was in 2017, I was president of the board, and I remember doing a slideshow for the incoming teachers' convocation. We literally had a representative in every feeder pattern without doing single-member districts. We had someone in Humble proper. We had someone in Atascocita. We had someone in Fall Creek. I mean, so we were able to accomplish that without doing single-member districts. I don't know the answer today, if this is a direction we need to go into, but I do think it's, with the growth that we've had and the diversity that we now have in our district, it's definitely something that we should at least consider in the manner that Ms. Lamont Dixon has proposed to, is it 5? Is it 4? I don't know what that would look like, but having those conversations about really the pros and the cons and not the emotion that's tied to it, but more about why it's good, why it's bad, why this one's better than this one, and how that blended or hybrid look could look. And I like the idea of having a workshop or a town hall and seeking feedback and then coming to a resolution on what the community wants and what the board can agree to.
Okay, thank you. But that's not what her motion asked for, because it's, by statute, it has to be a public hearing, which is different than a town hall or a workshop or, somewhat. It's, technically, speaking. And Mr. Rush, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it has to be a hearing where the public would come and address, and it's not us having dialogue about that.
I would tend to agree that it would be a public hearing, so the public would present to the board, and there would be limited opportunity for feedback and dialogue in that discussion. But because it would be on an agenda item to talk about that in particular, that would be freer than the typical public comment that we're talking about at a board meeting like tonight. So there would be some flexibility to have a little more discussion than what we would have in a typical board meeting.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yes, and
Ms.
let me just
Dixon?
be really clear too. I think the public hearing is in an effort to hear what the public thinks about this particular idea. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rush, but it does not hold us to anything, because you'd have to have a public hearing first, then the board eventually would have to have a resolution. There's like a whole process.
That's correct.
So this is not holding us to anything. It's saying we're allowing the public an opportunity to give feedback on what they think and to hear all of those different positions. And, some people say, well, why now? Well, there's a few things. One, if we were to move in this fashion, it takes quite a bit of time, and there are parameters with the state with 120 days here, the resolution, the public hearing. So January to January gives all parties, if we move in this direction, an opportunity to take care of those things. Also, people send me screenshots of things online all the time. It's very interesting, but I will say that, there's a misconception about, removing people from the board, or that people would not be able to keep their terms or what have you. But all of that is actually incorrect. And I'm going to pass this down to all of you. What I'm considering or wanting to consider or wanting us to talk about, honestly, it actually wouldn't impact anyone on the board, honestly, except Mr. Sitton. And that's because Mr. Sitton has already said publicly that he is not planning to run again. So it would essentially be offering his position 1 to the Humble area. It does not impact anyone else on the board. And also, if you read statute, the statute also says that if a board decides to move and have a resolution and all of those things that you would have to do to single-member districts, that you can hold your position until your term ends. So this is not, an opportunity to say, to get rid of anyone on the board. That is definitely not what this is about. Number two, it is not trying to say we need to have an election and change all the board members at a certain time. That's not it either. It's just, from my perspective as a board member, we're supposed to think about the big picture, the vision. I'm not a micromanager of the superintendent. I am a big picture thinker about how we move forward. And when I look at our school district and the growth and so much of the development since I've even been on the board in 7 years, I think it is worth a conversation and to hear what people throughout the district think about this process. So that's where I am. It's actually coming from a very good place, even though not everyone will agree with that. If you want to look at other school districts, I have a list, but the one that comes to mind that's nearby would be Clear Creek ISD. They have 5 single-member districts and 2 at large. It's not uncommon, especially when a school district is approaching 50,000 students. It's actually very common. But that's what I have.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of moving ahead with the motion to have a public hearing and all the necessary requirements to engage such, please raise your hand if you're in favor. Okay. All those opposed? And the motion fails 4-3.
Thank you.
Please, let's keep our decorum. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 5C, Foster Elementary relocation. Mr. Sitton, a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. President, I move that the board approve the Foster Elementary relocation plan.
Do I have a second? Second. We have a second. Okay. And the discussion, board members, is going to start with a presentation from Ms. Herb and her associates that will, and please, you guys introduce yourselves as well, so everybody in the audience knows who you are. So go ahead. I asked her if to keep it to a reasonable amount of time because we had a lot on the agenda. So go ahead.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Fagan and board members. I'm Christy Erb, Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Schools.
I'm Allison Pierce, Director of Early Learning and Elementary Strategic Innovations.
Stephanie Davis, Director of Elementary Education. So Stephanie, Allison, and I are here tonight to share the Foster Elementary Student Relocation Draft Plan. All children have the best school experiences, should have the best school experiences that include safe facilities, technology, and spaces designed for the needs of young learners. New schools reinvest in communities. The new Foster Elementary will benefit Kingwood by enhancing property values and attracting families. Taxpayer money should be used carefully. With these guiding values in mind, we have worked over the past months to find a solution for how we could provide a new school in Kingwood while continuing to educate the children who currently attend Foster Elementary. It has been a great challenge. We looked everywhere. Our team visited churches and inquired about shopping centers, office spaces, the Instructional Support Center, former Lakeland Elementary, and Kingwood campuses when it was determined that space would be needed to house Foster Elementary classes for the 2024-25 and 2025-26 school years, while the new school is under construction. When analyzing retail spaces, churches, and the Instructional Support Center, there was either no availability, limited availability, and space, or the available spaces did not support elementary learning environments. The law requires schools to have specific building safety infrastructure in place for young learners. cafeteria spaces, libraries, clinics, student-appropriate restrooms, gyms or pavilions, music, art, computer, labs for specials, and playground areas were not available at all of the spaces. Also, some buildings did not have the robust infrastructure and technology infrastructure that is used in our daily instruction. When analyzing former Lakeland Elementary, this facility would allow Foster Elementary students and staff to remain together on a single campus. However, this facility is at least 7 miles from Foster Elementary and would be a costly investment of at least $1 million to make the facility ready for student learning due to an interior refresh that would be needed, technology and safety upgrades, as well as upgrades needed to the roof and chillers. When analyzing Kingwood campuses, Foster Elementary students and staff would remain in Kingwood, and no additional cost would be needed to refurbish buildings. However, this option would split students and staff between campuses. After extensive analysis, it became apparent that these were not all feasible options. After looking at all possible scenarios, there were 2 viable options identified. Option 1 keeps Foster Elementary students in Kingwood. Foster Elementary students and staff would remain in Kingwood for 2 school years. Different grade levels would be housed on different campuses. There is not enough space for the entire Foster Elementary student body to attend the same school in Kingwood, but there is enough space for individual grade levels to attend a school in Kingwood. Option 2, Foster Elementary School students and staff would utilize the former Lakeland Elementary School in Humble for 2 school years. This option does keep Foster Elementary staff and students together. In November, Foster Elementary parents were surveyed on these 2 viable options. There were 358 surveys completed. Currently, Foster Elementary enrollment for kindergarten through 4th grade is 419 students. Survey results were 66% of respondents favored option 1, keeping students in Kingwood, with 33% of respondents favoring option 2, utilizing former Lakeland Elementary. Option 1, keeping Foster Elementary students in Kingwood, the preferred option based on survey results, adds no additional rental fees or costs to refurbish buildings. All safety and technology infrastructure meets student district standards. Campus learning environments support all Humble ISD programs. And this option decreases the travel distance for the Foster Elementary families.
Ms. Erb, can I interrupt 1 second?
Yes.
What would you estimate would be the typical travel time for these kiddos in, going all the way across the river? Jason, yeah, and just so people know.
Yeah, when you add in stops, you're looking at probably 30 to 40 minutes each way. Each way.
Round, okay.
Round.
That's a lot, okay.
Thank you, Jason. This draft plan was created based on survey data and feedback. It strategically uses the available space on Kingwood campuses and enrollment projections to meet the needs of our Foster Elementary students and staff while taking into consideration the needs of the host campuses. Principals in Kingwood work collaboratively to identify available space for Foster Elementary school classes on their campuses. In this draft plan, Willow Creek Elementary would receive kindergarten Foster Elementary students, which is approximately 76 students in 4 classes. Deerwood Elementary would receive 1st grade Foster Elementary students, which is approximately 76 students again and 4 classes. Shadow Forest Elementary School would receive 2nd grade Foster Elementary students, which is 4 classrooms and approximately 73 students. Hidden Hollow Elementary School would receive 3rd grade, which is 5 classrooms, 4th grade, which is 4 classrooms, and 5th grade, which is 3 classrooms of Foster Elementary students. Special education speak classes would be housed at Elm Grove Elementary School and Woodland Hills Elementary School, And our pre-K classes, including general ed, pre-K, special education classrooms, would be housed at Oaks Elementary, Pine Forest, and Woodland Hills Elementary. In the 25-26, and I do want to go back, my apologies. One piece. As we analyzed available space and enrollment for 5th grade, utilizing Hidden Hollow rather than Kingwood Middle School allows for the Foster Elementary 5th grade students to remain in an elementary learning environment that supports all of our Humble ISD elementary programs. So during the 25-26 school year, which would be the year 2 of the Foster Elementary rebuild, students will not have to transition campuses. For example, Foster Elementary students who attend kindergarten at Willow Creek would remain at Willow Creek for 1st grade. Incoming kindergarten would be held at Hidden Hollow now because the 5th graders that are at Hidden Hollow are now moving on to middle school. And as you can see, Foster Elementary students transition back to the new Foster Elementary School for the 26-27 school year. Now this chart shows the difference in current enrollment for kindergarten and 5th grades at our Kingwood campuses. As an established community, many Kingwood elementary schools have more older students than incoming younger students. As the 5th graders move on to middle school, there is an increased capacity at the elementary schools because there are fewer students in the lower grades. For example, if we look at Shadow Forest Elementary School, their current kindergarten enrollment is 89, and their current 5th grade enrollment is 135, which those students will be moving on to middle school next year. When analyzing past, current, and future enrollment, all campuses utilized in this draft plan have the capacity to support Foster Elementary students. For example, Willow Creek Elementary was built to serve 700 students. Willow Creek Elementary's projected enrollment for the 24-25 school year is 510 students. By adding Foster Elementary's kindergarten students to Willow Creek Elementary, these 76 students, 4 classrooms, will bring Willow Creek to a projected enrollment of 586. So what about transportation? What will this look like for our Foster Elementary school students? All Foster Elementary students who attend the campus they are assigned to their grade level will be offered bus transportation and service. And the buses' routes will run throughout their neighborhoods for pickup and drop-off. Also, we received some additional questions regarding student classification. Foster Elementary students would continue to be taught by Foster Elementary teachers, be in homerooms with Foster Elementary students, and will continue to be PEIMS coded to Foster Elementary. Foster Elementary students and students on the host campuses will continue to have the same specials, lunches, class sizes, and will be staffed appropriately to meet the needs of all students. As it relates to accountability, Foster will receive its own accountability rating, and Foster student test scores will not be mixed into the results of the current campus. So as you can see, Foster Elementary will continue to be its own unique campus. Again, thank you for your time as we work to support the Foster Elementary students and staff and their community. Do you have any questions?
Okay, anybody on the board have questions while there are experts?
Just one quick
are here?
comment.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say great work. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you.
Mr. Grabowski?
You mentioned the we who created options 1 and 2. Who's the we?
Dr. Fagan?
Well, go ahead.
Okay,
I mean, you can answer.
Yeah, so our team, we created several viable options, and then we presented those to the Board Building and Planning Committee. And then from there, based on those decisions, those options were put out for the survey.
And who did you survey?
All the Foster
All
Elementary
Foster
families.
Elementary.
K through 4.
No one else in the district, or the gaining schools, their families were not
And the
involved?
staff at Foster Elementary also received input surveys as well.
But the staff and the teachers at the other schools weren't surveyed for potential issues that they may know of that haven't been discovered?
The
No.
receiving schools, you refer.
Yeah, the receiving
Yeah,
schools.
No, they weren't.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Fagan, would you mind, I leaned over to ask you, would you let people understand why this, normally in elementary school, doesn't take 2 years, but
Right, so going clear back to Foster, we had looked for new land for Foster, like we did North Bend Elementary School, because Foster's on an incredibly small site in Kingwood. But unfortunately, Kingwood doesn't have a lot of available land, and the land that we did look at was actually part of an old golf course. These long, skinny holes just didn't make any sense at all for a school campus. The roads in Forest Cove are really small, and the transportation department was concerned about having major bus traffic through there all the time. So after exploring that area, we'd obviously want to keep it in the area where Foster Elementary is now in that attendance zone. It was really clear to us that despite the fact this is a really tiny site, that we needed to keep it there. And so unlike Kingwood Middle School, where we could build a new campus around the old building, then move the students to the new campus, demolish the old building, which is what we did at Kingwood Middle School, that wasn't a viable option here either, because the site is so small that the students would be in an active construction zone. They would have virtually no playground for 2 years. It just wasn't a good idea for this particular student body. So the length of this process is actually as fast as it could be, but we have to tear down the current building, haul it away, and then start a brand-new building, which does lengthen it in comparison to being able to start with brand-new land that's fresh, that you just go ahead and put the utilities in and start building. So that's the additional time.
thank you, Dr. Fagan. Other discussion?
Yeah, just a quick question. It's one that I asked as well. I sit on the board building and planning committee, so I just want to say I was asking the same type of questions that I've heard from the community. I was very impressed with all the vetting that they did. So again, thank you. I'm going to ask a few questions that I think I've heard from the community, and Dr. Fagan, team, if you can just help answer some of those. I think it's really good to actually answer what Mr. Grabowski asked. Why didn't we ask the receiving schools, send out a survey to those parents and those teachers? I know the answer, but I would love for you to answer
Well, I'll
that.
start, and then feel free to add anything you'd like to add. The idea here is that these are going to be Foster Elementary teachers teaching Foster Elementary students, and they're going to be simply using a classroom or classrooms at this campus. And at Hidden Hollow, because there are multiple grade levels going there, additional support staff will go there to support that campus. So they will receive additional staff beyond what they would have even had typically for supervision, specials, interventions, all those kind of things. So it actually is a little bit of a benefit to that campus because they're getting these support staff that they typically wouldn't have. So the thought pattern was that the most impacted families are really the Foster Elementary families whose children may be divided up. If you have a third grader and a kindergartner, you're looking at 2 different campuses. So we really wanted to understand what they would prefer is the bus ride, the older building, or if they would rather stay in Kingwood and have that sort of common experience that we offer with security, with technology, playground space, cafeterias, those kind of things that we have right at those campuses right now. And so to lend over these empty classrooms was the only thing we were really asking. And please add anything else that you guys were thinking about.
I do want to make sure the board knows that we worked throughout the process with the receiving or the host campus with their leadership. And although that's not all the parents, they are well aware, well-versed in their community. And they were a part of this process and worked with, of course, Ms. Heckman of Foster Elementary, just in such a collaborative way.
Mrs. Parker, you said you had a question?
First of all, I want to thank you for your work. And I woke up yesterday adamantly opposed to this idea. And so I got into my car at 3 p.m. at Foster Elementary, And I thought, if I'm a kindergarten mother and I don't want to put my child on a bus and I want to drive to Willow Creek, how long is that going to take me? And it took me 12 minutes. I was surprised with the Kingwood High School traffic that that was the case. And I continued on to Shadow Forest, which took another about 4 minutes, and then I went on to Hidden Hollow, and then back to Deerwood, and that took me 40 minutes, and it would have taken me to hit all 4 schools, not wait in the car rider line. But we all know that every day. So anyway, and then it would take me about another 14 minutes to get back to Foster Elementary, and I kind of thought that was the middle of the district, and that was probably a good start. And so that made me feel a lot better. My only concern, and this says this is a draft plan anyway, the parental feedback that I've gotten is that the community stakeholders would like input. And because Foster would like to remain in Kingwood, and I understand that. I totally understand that as a mother. I just wish that we could have maybe a meeting where we had some feedback from all of the community stakeholders from all of the schools. And because it is a draft, we could vote yes and still have some sort of a community meeting and listen to feedback. And maybe somebody somewhere has, maybe there's another option that we haven't thought of or something like that. But that's my only feedback. But I appreciate your work, and I know how hard you guys have been working on this, and I really, really, really appreciate it. But that's my only feedback.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Sitton?
Could y'all put the slide back up that showed the occupancy of the buildings?
Yes.
So there's not a single building that is going to be at capacity. There's a couple that are close. So that's why y'all chose these specific campuses, correct?
Yes.
So as Chair of Building and Planning, when this first came up, I don't know, a year ago maybe, I immediately just said, well, Lakeland's the easy option.
Yeah.
It's a building, it was an elementary school, but there's a reason it's not an elementary school anymore. It was no longer a viable building for an elementary school, which is why we relocated Lakeland. So then we started looking at what would have to be done in order to get that campus back up to speed with technology, security, safety, just the whole 9 yards. And it's sort of like when we're looking at using bond funds, I'll give you an example. Sterling Middle School did not get the same upgrades that the other middle schools got, because it didn't make sense to spend all that money on Sterling and then 2 years later tear it down to rebuild it. So then when y'all came with other options, and I know we talked about using some of the churches because they have that school environment, but one, there wasn't enough space, but two, they didn't have everything that was required by the state of Texas for elementary students. So that wasn't a viable option. So I know that this was not something that y'all threw together, and I know y'all brought it to Building and Planning multiple times. And so the Building and Planning Committee agreed to move this forward to the whole board. So thank you for your work in this. And I just wanted that picture again, that we're not overloading and overcrowding campuses, and they're getting all the appropriate staffing needs that they're going to need.
Yes.
And we're not laying off anyone doing this either, correct?
Correct. Correct.
I just
Thank
wanted to add one thing regarding, I find you all to be extremely supportive and responsive to all parent feedback from elementary parents, all the time. How many emails did you receive from elementary parents on this topic of non-foster students?
I've received one.
And I've received none.
Yeah.
And so I would just say that this team, I believe, is very responsive to those kinds of things. And I appreciate that when this was first discussed with all of those receiving campuses, that members of our cabinet team went out to each campus.
Yes.
Dr. Brown was out there, Mr. Perkins was out there, Mr. Kramer was out there. I think even Mr. Bodron was out there too. And answered all their questions, took all the feedback, all of those things in a really personalized, supportive way, worked with individual principals, walked the campuses to see if there was indeed space. Because sometimes if you have a speak program, you might be using an entire classroom that would show for 20 students, but you're using it for 10. And all of that was accounted for.
Right, which is what you'll see with Woodland Hills. It looks like Woodland Hills could take on additional students, but the way that campus is built and the specialized programs that they have, we have classrooms that are built for 22, 25, but we have specialized programs in there. So we don't have the available space, but when you look at next year's projected enrollment, we will have some flexibility to bring in pre-K and speak to Woodland Hills, but taking a whole grade level to, for example, Woodland Hills is not an option at this time.
So you were all willing to work with any family who had concerns?
Absolutely.
And still are.
And still are. And when you talk about the dismissal and the driving, those are things that, obviously, this is a draft plan, but the principals, we're already working and collaboratively thinking about those items, and how can we work with our families? If I do have a student at Willow Creek and Hidden Hollow, what will that look like? We're just going to have an extended dismissal to support those families.
And I do say, I have, is that okay?
Well, you spoke, anybody else wanted to speak ahead of you? Mr. Kirchhoffer, did you want? Okay, that's fine.
I would say that I do believe that you guys logistically will figure it out. Like the daycare buses, when I was driving up at 3:10, the daycare buses were already gone. So I know that if there was a special issue with a child that the mom had to go to 4 campuses, that you would, make it work. I do know that the Humble ISD family will step up on issues like that.
Yeah. Great presentation, ladies. This probably for Dr. Fagan. Is there a 25, 26 projection?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Mr. Kirchhoffer, because we have here in the audience our demographers who are going to do a presentation on the growth of the district, and we'll have all that information for you.
Be in there?
Yep, it will be in there.
Any other discussion? Well, let me come back. Mr. Grabowski, Ms. Long-Dixon, and Mr.
Okay, another question for the superintendent. Madam, was there ever a time that with building and planning and everybody, with all the minds that are in the community, of holding a community forum that people could ask questions? Or I'm not saying this isn't a good solution, and I think you all have done amazing work when I look how you're going to distribute children around. But there's perhaps other options that haven't been explored because we haven't put it out for a group of community gathering, open, whatever you want to call it, for all the other possible ideas that have not been explored?
Well, it's true that we didn't have one large gathering of everyone, but instead, it's my opinion that this group used a really personalized campus-by-campus approach to receive all of that feedback. We all answer our own emails. I believe it was posted on the parents' page to contact us if you had questions or concerns. Christy got one email, I got none. And the principals have been really in communication with their staffs and their families, and they bring us, of course, anything that is of great concern to them. And actually, a lot of that feedback helped you all in designing what should go where and how, and answering questions. I would say the foster staff asked us some of the best questions we received because of their own children and things like that. So we didn't have a come one, come all town hall kind of situation. We approached public participation in a more personalized campus by campus approach because we wanted them to bring us concerns that were specific to what they were going to experience instead of this overarching sort of fear thing that wasn't realistic. Because when you talk to Willow Creek family and say, these are 3 or 4 sections of kindergarten, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, easy. And our campus has tons of space for that, so no big deal. And once people understood that the PEMS data was not going to change, and that the Foster Elementary School, under TEA's eyes, is still Foster Elementary School with the same PEMS code they've always had, and there won't be redistribution of test scores or any of those kind of things. That alleviated other questions and things. So I feel like they've spent a tremendous amount of time on this and answering people's questions and concerns, every staff member, every family, and they will continue to resolve those concerns as we go forward in that person-by-person approach, because our goal is to make sure every family is satisfied with what their child is going to experience, and so that's the approach that we have taken to get their feedback and resolve their concerns.
And I would also like to thank the Kingwood Elementary principals, because they have been extremely responsive, collaborative, as we work through this process, not only with parents and community members, but one another.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that, you know, I don't know if the community really understands how the board works. I mean, we work in committee for a reason. Building and Planning Committee is made up of Mr. Sitton, Mr. Holmes, and Mr. Scarfo. And for me, I trust that process. I trust that you've done your work that you're supposed to do, and you've done the due diligence. You've presented it to Building and Planning, and then they have vetted the process and brought it to us for a vote. I just think that that needs to be thought about, because that is how we work as a board. And I feel like that process has been vetted, and if it had not been agreeable for any of the three of you, then it would not be on our agenda today for us to vote in this capacity. So, you know, I, for one, think we should vote. If it passes, then it moves forward.
Just a quick comment. Yeah, just a quick comment. I want to remind everybody, we had a little storm that came through several years ago that wiped out Kingwood High School. And there was a decision made within 2 weeks and got approval by TEA, the Commissioner of Education, to combine Kingwood High School and Summer Creek High School into one, with a flex schedule to accommodate every one of those students. And there was a lot of anxiousness on the front end of it. And as the process continued and the communication continued, I think you can go back to those students, because we heard it up here. They came to us in public and said, thank you for keeping us together. Even though we had to go somewhere else, it was uncomfortable at first, but our teachers were with us, our identity was still there, and the process worked for both of those student bodies on that campus. And what we're asking here is something similar, but not traumatic like what we went through back then. And it worked. So hats off to the administrative team and you ladies and all the work that the staff and administrators of all these other campuses have gone through. That was what I wanted to add.
Mr. Holmes, you had a comment? Or?
No, I knew he was going to answer what I was going to ask.
No, that's fine. And yeah, and I think we'll wait till the end, let everybody speak. I just want to say again, as I said to you the other day in the building planning, thank you so much for the great job you guys have done. This has not been something that's been done in 3 weeks, and it's gone back a long time. I think if any more options were going to really surface, I think they would have surfaced by now, because people have had opportunity to say, and I shouldn't say this because tomorrow I'll probably get a ton, but I only have gotten 2 emails on the topic as of tonight or whatever, this afternoon, and I've yet to see, other than say, oh, we need to do this, have a town hall or this or that, I haven't heard any additional option that I think is realistic or that works. I, for one, and I'm not going to repeat my rant from the other day, but because I got upset about something, and I don't want to have these babies bust 45 minutes across the river, because every day is not going to be sunny and pleasant. There's going to be days and mornings when, like the other morning, was it Thursday or Wednesday, whichever that morning was, when it was just not so nice. So I would be, and again, going back to a good use of being good stewards of dollars, to put money into a campus that we know we're not going to use for more than a 24-month period at best, I think is not a very good idea. And what people need to focus on, Mr. Sitton alluded to it, is when we look at the PASA study, I think we need to be more concerned about the fact that we can put 3 elementary classes in Hidden Hollow as of today. So what's the utilization there? And so we're going to need to start rethinking. And I think when you see the numbers in just a little bit, that's kind of the scary side, because there's some parts of the district that are still having some growth, but mostly not. So I just want to say thank you again for coming up with, I think, the most feasible option. I know you guys went hat in hand to every place you possibly could, but again, it comes down to, Mr. Sitton, might have been you or Dr. Fagan who mentioned, it's really the security issue. Even if their hearts were in the place, yeah, we want to do this, but we really couldn't do it because we couldn't duplicate what we have at these elementary campuses in terms of safety. So I'll stop because we've kind of went beyond. So now there's no more discussion. I'm going to call a vote. All those in favor of moving forward with the option that was presented this evening and that is on the agenda, please vote yes by the show of your hand. Opposed? Okay, 7-0. All right, thank you. Thank you again very much for your presentation. Dr. Fagan, we have some guest presenters in our audience. Our demographers who've been working with the district for a number of years and do great work. I am going to go ahead, and Mr. Rush, you tell me if I think I can do this, but tell me if I can't. I am going to move one information item ahead. Next, we would be normally going to consent agenda. I'm going to move one information item ahead of that for the time being, and that is item 7B under information items, the 2023-24 demographic study for Humboldt ISD. And don't worry if you don't see this, the presentation will be available on the website. I think it was actually embedded in my docs. But you really should spend some time looking at it, and I'm talking to the public at large, people here and people who are watching online. But there's some very interesting information coming, and I'll tell you, these guys have been on the money. I have to tell you, when I first got on the board years and years ago, I questioned the validity. I said, yeah, well, okay, let me see what your forecast was, 5 years ago and what it is. Well, I got to tell you what, if they talk about eating crow, well, I was eating crow. No, they do a great job. So I as a financial analytic guy, I really appreciate what they do, and they've been proven out over time. So I think we could take these numbers to the bank, so to speak, that we could really plan well based on what they present. So buckle up, and this is a great presentation.
Thank you very much. What an introduction. My name is Stacy Tapera. This is Justin Silhavi. We're from Population and Survey Analysts. It's great to be back in Humboldt ISD. The last time we were here was about 4 years ago in the 2019-20 school year. We have a 20-year history with Humboldt. The first time we worked with Humboldt ISD was in 2003 with Dr. Sconzo, of course, and we had a long-term relationship with him and with the district, and so it's great to be back. Just as a quick word of sort of our credentials, we work with 25 of the school districts in Houston ISD, as well, in Houston area, metro area, as well as districts all over Texas. In Houston, 17 of the 25 highest growth districts are our clients. So we're well-versed in high growth, although that's going to be the message of tonight's meeting, is that the high growth that Humboldt has seen for the past 2 decades is going to be changing in the next few years. But I'll now turn it over to Justin. He's going to give some information about the background information that informs our projections, and then I'll come back and talk about how those projected students are related to capacities of facilities.
All right. Good evening. Thank you. I'm going to jump right into this. In the beginning here, we'll have a few introductory slides, and we're going to talk about housing growth, which still continues. First, I did want to mention that growth Stacy was talking about. This chart here shows 10 years of growth, annual growth in Humboldt ISD. So in about the last 10 years, the district has grown by about 10,000 students. Much of that was prior to 2022. We've had a couple of years of fairly low growth. something that we did actually project when we were here 4 years ago. So we're still on the money. When you look at this district, these dots show your students mapped. That's what we have to do. We are demographers, so we have to understand where students live and what their ages are. And we can project forward from that. On this map, the red highlighted areas, much of it is in the southeast, and some of it is in the far north, are the areas of new housing growth. So those are where students did not live back 4 years ago. So how many students are in each house? This is something that varies school district to district. It varies neighborhood to neighborhood. In single-family housing in Humble, you have about 0.64 students per unit. Multifamily has about half that much, 0.3 students, 0.31 students per unit. And in a lot of new apartments, that number is actually quite lower because newer apartments are generally a little bit higher rental rates and also have more 1 and 2 bedrooms in this district. So real quick, you still have some growing neighborhoods, even though you have rapidly built out over the last 4 to 5 years. So in the western part of the district, we have Townsend Landing that just broke ground. New streets are in, up actually west of East Tex Freeway. And then we have a new community in Humble, Harmony Cove. We have Kingwood, some infill development continuing, north and south parts of Kingwood. And then in the southeast, we still have over 1,100 units projected in Balmoral, the Groves, and Lakewood Pines. With rental communities, a lot of that is focused in the southern part of the district where we still have a lot of land left. Someone mentioned earlier Kingwood doesn't have a lot of land, and that's true. So there's not a lot of spots north of the San Jacinto to actually put new multifamily. But we do have quite a bit of that peppered still in the south part of the district where we do have land. One project is leasing up, another 4 are under construction, and we do have a few more coming soon to the district. So when we look at 10 years of projections, today through 2033, we're projecting about 9,300 new housing units. 3,700 housing units would be single family. And just for reference, in the last 4 years, you've had over 5,600 single family houses built in this district. So to have only 3,700 in the next 10 years is quite a reduction. About 5,000 multifamily units and some other small, RV parks and age-restricted communities peppered in as well.
But would that mean, going back to the very first slide, what you just had up, would that mean we'd be looking at, this is I think where you're getting to, is less, if more of them are going to be multifamily and they had the least number of kids, and that first number you put up tells me if you have that many single-family homes and they only have 0.6, a lot of them are single-family homes like mine that only have kids in them on the weekends.
Correct.
Little kids. Yeah, so no kids are going to school. So obviously, a lot of people are staying put, and even though there's no kids in there, and that's, I think, why we're seeing what we just saw with Hidden Hollow. So.
Yeah, and Stacy will get into that a little bit too. But yeah, we do factor in, I'll mention that in a second, we do factor in, older existing neighborhoods. You're an established district. So you tend to have neighborhoods. Eagle Springs is a classic example right now in your district, where Eagle Springs has very high student ratios just because of the timing it was built, but that they are decreasing. People moved in with children, and now everyone's aging in place. So that's a good example to look at in the report. So when you look at annual projections of housing, you can see we're still starting off a little higher. These are starting out with essentially today, year 1, the first year, moving through 32-33 school year. We still have about 500 to 600 single-family homes annually being built in this district, but that slows tremendously by about 2025 as those 3 communities in the southeast build out. Just 2 years ago, we had 1,500 single-family homes built annually in Humble ISD. So what do we factor in other than housing, right? Well, quite a bit. When you look at this chart here, the 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock hours here, if you will, birth rates and the incoming kindergarten class is really going to become something we have to keep monitoring in this district. As you become established, those lower grade levels matter more and more and more. You can't rely on new housing to beef your enrollment up, right? So we have seen births really stabilize in this district. We get birth data by zip code. Certain zip codes are a little different than others, but overall, you've seen very similar birth rates. And that is being seen in your kindergarten class. When we were here 4 years ago, your kindergarten class is only increased by, or is actually decreased by 3 students. So it's essentially the exact same. Meanwhile, some of your upper grades have been increasing. There's a bulge in that population. We look at regeneration. So those older neighborhoods, Eagle Springs, I mentioned earlier, classic example. What's happening there? Are we having more kindergartners or fewer? Stacy actually looks at a neighborhood by neighborhood level of that. Charter schools. We do know that Idea Charter has a new site near Old Humble and Beltway 8. We do not know their plans officially for that, but we have to keep monitoring that every year. They pop up really quickly. And it's not just Idea, it's a whole host of charter systems that do. And then, of course, we have to throw in that new housing construction on top of all these other variables. So once we do that, we can get a general enrollment trend for the entire district. But real quick, I wanted to talk about that 4 years ago when we were here. As I mentioned, we've had 5,600 new homes built in that time, single-family homes, way more in 4 years than you're going to have in the next 10. We also had quite a few multifamily complexes built, so you had both happening at the same time for the last 5 years. We have seen build-to-rent communities increase, and that's statewide, everywhere. Those are little communities that may look like single-family homes, but they're rentals. And so some of your big master plan communities have a few of those as well. That chart to the left, I love it. I love to see something like this. This is going back 4 years, what we had projected for Humble. Those, I guess, vanilla bars are our low, moderate, high growth from 4 years ago for this school year. And that red bar is what we're at. So we're within 35 students. It doesn't get any better than that, guys. It really doesn't. So, woo! I'm not going to toot my own horn anymore. But that was, it is. So you just went through some heavy years of growth. But that's starting to change. And it's not just new housing that's causing it. It's those lower grade level, those smaller classes in your lower grade levels that are also happening at the same time. Fewer homes, stabilizing kindergarten. So what you get with that is this up until the last couple of years, and now we're about to see some stabilization with enrollment. So I've said stabilization about 50 times already in this presentation, and that's really something to think about. Those low and high growth scenarios do vary quite a bit, especially as we get to the 2030s. But that's because there's so many unknowns. You could have several charter schools come in and siphon away students from the traditional ISD. We just don't know when and where they're going to do that. We barely can look out 12 months with that, much less 10 years. The higher growth scenario could mean you have a lot more regeneration, people who aren't even born yet. There could be a higher birth rate in the coming years. We could also have some land that's owned by some major energy companies peel off pieces that don't have oil wells on them. We don't know that. Some of that land off 1960 could develop. We just don't know. Right now, there are no plans. So those are unknowns, but for the most part, we tell you to kind of look at that dotted line. That's your moderate, most likely scenario of growth. So with that, I'll have Stacy come up.
Thank you. You have heard a lot about what happened in the past and what we consider in our projections. I need to also start off this section talking about, as Justin mentioned, we're demographers, we project where people will live. And so we project resident students living in each attendance zone. However, especially in this district, there are a lot of students that do not attend the school where they are zoned to attend for a variety of reasons. All of the flex zones, the Sconzo Early College, of course, employees, district employees transferring their students, et cetera, bilingual programs. So there are a lot of reasons that children attend a different school. So in order to look ahead, we have to assume that all of those transfer patterns will remain the same in the future. The proportion of students living in a flex zone will continue choosing to attend school A versus school B in the same proportions. That's the only thing we can do at this point is make those assumptions. So that's what you will see in the upcoming slides. So this map is a heat map of how many new students we project to move into or live in each planning unit in the district. The red areas or maroon areas are areas of greatest growth. So those correspond with the new housing that Justin told us about in the southeast, Balmoral, Groves, Lakeside Pines, and on the west, is Townsend Landing and Harmony Cove. So those are the maroon hotspots. You also notice the blue areas of student decline, as has been mentioned several times tonight. Now, how does that growth, that you don't see any numbers there, but how does that relate to and aggregate up to the elementary schools? The hotspots in the southeast is, of course, Centennial with 340 students projected to be gained over the next 10 years. So this is 10 years once all of this growth has happened and the stabilization has happened that Justin talked about, and the district has essentially reached build-out. Centennial, between now and then, will gain 340 students, Lakeland and Humble each with over 250 students, and then the last vestiges of new housing growth in Lakeshore, Groves, and Autumn Creek with a gain of over 100 students each. Again, over the next 10 years. But with these gains, how does that relate to the space available at those schools? Can those schools accommodate those additional new students? So when talking about utilization of schools, we have to consider two buckets of information. We've got the number of students that I talked about is resident students plus and minus the transfers moving in or transferring in and out. That's one bucket of information. The second bucket is the capacity. How many students can each campus accommodate? And so for these purposes, that capacity, there are 1,000 ways to measure capacity. For these purposes, we're talking about functional capacity that's permanent space only, does not include portable buildings. And so this map shows the relationship next year of the projected number of students, resident students plus and minus transfers, compared to the current functional capacity at each school. The slight overcrowding that we see in the southeast at Centennial, Groves, and Ridge Creek. Now, the district has already begun to plan for that over utilization with the expansion at Summerwood. And so in 10 years, when we jump forward and we've expanded Summerwood, that's why Summerwood's utilization looks so low there, because they have more capacity in 10 years. And so there will be plenty of room to move some students from Centennial into Summerwood in order to accommodate that overcrowding. Now, we also long-term see some slight overcrowding at other campuses like Humble and Lakeland, as well as in the central south part of the district. All of those can be accommodated by either rezoning or moving programs, or maybe some additions to additional campuses. But it's our opinion that the plans that the district has already at the elementary level for additional capacity, will be able to accommodate the future population projected, particularly in the south. And to your discussion earlier about Kingwood and the north areas, notice the blue utilization 10 years out in the north. And so, yes, there is the northern part of the district is experiencing what many of our clients are experiencing now with the maturation of existing subdivisions. Question?
Just a question on where you show Foster as Foster Elementary and that blue area. Dr. Fagan, I don't know if you or Dr. Brown, as opposed to you, but is that an attendance zone or is that geo?
That's
an attendance zone.
That's the attendance zone, yep.
Okay, I didn't realize.
A bunch of it's the river, though.
Yeah. To the east.
And to the south, like, you can see, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a big piece of that's actually river.
It's not, there's nothing there, okay. And the same thing with the Humble one?
Humble Elementary, that is their attendance zone, but the mall is in there.
Because it's on the highway.
Exactly.
And Justin mentioned the oil fields.
Thank you.
Well, and they also mentioned, I just want to mention this too, so Humble L has dual language program, which is popular, and so they project it forward as it is, But obviously, we would be looking at some of these underutilized buildings for potential of dual language and also bilingual programs that we don't currently have in Kingwood, but there is need for that. So those students actually travel to Humble L, which overcrowds that school in these projections. So we would move that bilingual program up into Foster, fill Foster, and then balance out Humble Elementary School. So there's a lot of things that we're talking about, brainstorming about, to balance these things out now that we have the data.
Okay, moving on to, oh, yes? Moving on to middle school. Again, those areas of growth that I talked about at the elementary school level are the same in the middle school, with about 170 middle school students projected to be gained in the Autumn Ridge attendance zone over the next 10 years, and about 300 in the Sterling Middle School attendance zone. Now, as far as utilization, the short-term, next year's utilization, the squeeze is felt most at Westlake Middle School and Humble Middle School. But notice that Sterling Middle School is projected to be at about 96% utilization, but I just told you that they're also projected to gain 300 students. Fortunately, that rebuild of Sterling Middle School will accommodate that projected student population. So 10 years out, we've got Sterling, even with that growth, projected growth, because of the rebuild and the expansion, Sterling Middle School is still sitting at 96% utilization in 10 years, and the overcrowding at Westlake and Autumn Ridge will be taken care of with the opening of Middle School 11 in 2025. So again, 10 years out, the plans that the district has for additional capacity is sufficient to accommodate the projected student population. Finally, at the high school level, not surprisingly, Summer Creek has the projected most growth, with an addition of 600 students in the Summer Creek attendance zone, followed by Humble High School with 331 additional students. Now, again, getting to the utilization, the short-term overcrowding is currently felt at Summer Creek and Humble High School most. And I just told you that Summer Creek and Humble High School are also projected to grow the most. Fortunately, 4 years ago when we stood here in front of the district, so step back with me to 4 years ago and the mindset. The district was in the midst of and had come off of 2 decades of very high growth. And you remember that growth line that you saw going straight up. This district was very much in the mindset of high growth. And 4 years ago, we said, we're just beginning to see the beginnings on the horizon of a stabilization of that growth, because there's just not that much land available for future residential. And so the discussion about a 6th high school had been under discussion for years. But the district made the decision that rather than undertake a $300 million new high school, you would instead add on to Humble High School and Summer Creek. Now, this year's data fully supports that decision, in that with the addition at Humble High School, that student population, that growth will fully be accommodated at Humble High School. In Summer Creek, there will still be some pockets of overcrowding potentially, even with this 4,000 student additional capacity, but notice the additional space in other schools. It is possible that the district can move some programs or do some rezoning to balance the enrollment at the high schools. And so I would like to close by saying that the district used our previous data for the past 2 decades, but especially 4 years ago, to make these decisions about expanding and renovating existing facilities rather than building new facilities, in an effort to take a fiscally responsible approach to the stabilization that is coming to this future population. Yes.
Just on your one, on the high schools, with Humble 10 years out at 81%, is possibly, because I know you're assuming the entire build-out with all 3 phases.
Yes.
Are you saying, though, maybe we shouldn't go as robust with the 3rd phase that we haven't started yet, as far as not making it quite as As large, I don't know how
I
much
haven't really looked at that,
classroom room
and I think there's a lot more to that decision than just the number of students. I think it's certainly, I don't know anything about it, but I'm guessing it's programmatic. And so that's not really my call
Okay,
to
no,
make,
that's fine.
but the
Just
numbers
asking.
are certainly in the report, and I'm certain that the administration will use those numbers to make that decision.
Absolutely. And Phase 3 of Humboldt High School is actually CTE, mostly classrooms, so it's programmatic and attracts students to that. The other thing is you'll see a Tuskegee to come down to 74%, which obviously allows Summer Creek's, some of their excess to move up. And we have a lot of students who live really close to a Tuskegee that we haven't been able to allow to attend there despite their desire to do so. So that probably can balance out as we move forward.
And would the same sentiment be for Kingwood Park, like the rezoning to Kingwood?
Well, a lot of Kingwood Park is transfers because of the small school, the programs there. So we will look at programs there, particularly special education programs that we have often put there if we need to take some pressure off, because those would easily fit to Kingwood.
And just one more question, quick question. I mean, I know you've passed middle schools, but like Riverwood, it said in 10 years, it's at 72%. That's really low. I mean, so I guess programmatic? I'm just a little concerned about that. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
that's-
the numbers in Kingwood are dwindling, but I am concerned about that.
Right, and so what we will do is we will look at programmatic needs for programs that need a lot of space and have fewer students, and then often we locate those where we have additional space, and that allows us to bring those schools up to functional capacity through programs and options that are available there.
So I got Mr. Sitton. Anybody else wants to ask, just so I'll know who to, okay, Mr. Sitton?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to ditto something you said earlier, Mr. Scarfo, and that is, I was critical of you guys early on. In my 13 years, I was like, well, how, and I was asking those same questions. Well, if this is 70%, well, we got capacity here, we got capacity there. And then I took a step back and realized that I'm not the expert, and looked at your track record as far as the global number. And the slide you showed that you were 35 students off in a 5-year projection, that speaks for itself. And I did apologize in a public meeting, I think, several years ago. But what I learned, I remember Mr. Cunningham and I were at an event at Timbers Elementary one year. And we had just looked at building capacities. And Timbers Elementary had their entire 4th grade in temporary buildings. And we were like, wait a second, we just saw a report that you can handle 200 additional students. Why is the entire 4th grade in temporary buildings? And the reason and the rationale was that, and this is what I want the rest of my colleagues to understand, is that a lot of the older campuses don't have the space that is required today, and you're having to take 2 classrooms, combine them into one to create the lab space, to create certain programs that are required that weren't required when those buildings were initially built. So if something shows that it's going to be at 70 or 80% capacity, that's based off the global number of students that are moving into a geographic area. It doesn't look at the programs. It doesn't look at transfers. It doesn't look at the age of the facility and the items that are available within that facility. So it may have the square footage that would be for, say, 650 or 700 students, but realistically, usable capacity may be at 550 for that specific facility. So that's where the administration and their various teams and the building and planning and so forth come together to look at how we can best utilize each of these facilities. And fortunately, with some of the space that we have in Kingwood that we've already talked about elementary-wise. But then as we move forward and you see some of these numbers where the enrollment looks a little bloated, then there's other opportunities. As y'all mentioned, we hate the word rezoning, but there are some opportunities to shift a little bit here and there. And there's also some opportunities to shift programs to really maximize the space that's available and not create these pockets of bloat, if you will. So that's just been my experience in 13 years that we've experienced going through these. And thank y'all so much for all your efforts. We appreciate it.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Now, I'm going to, thank you very much. I really appreciate it and all that great information. And now you know why I gave you that big build-up at the beginning, right? So,
Thank you.
Mr. Sitton seconded that. So, thanks, all. Okay, now I'm going to get us back to our normal order of agenda, and we're going to move to consent agenda. And so Mr. Sitton, if you will help me out, please, I'm going to read through these, and we'll go. I'm sorry? No, there aren't. Okay. Item A, approval of minutes for the regular board meeting held on December 12th, 2023. It's consent. And please tell me, because I'm not always looking to see, so if you want something, let me know. Approval of B, approval of minutes for the regular board meeting held on Thursday, December 21st, 2023. That's consent. Item C, bond fund transfers and amendments. That's consent. Budgetary transfers and amendments. That's consent. Approval of goods, professional services, and non-construction services exceeding $50,000 in the aggregate or $25,000 individually. That's consent. Item F, tax refunds. That's consent. Item G, board authorization of interlocal agreements. That's consent. And last item H, policy revisions, TASB update 122, and administrative recommendations, final action.
Pull.
Okay, that's pulled. Okay, H. Mr. Sitton, would you please read those back in the form of a motion, and then I'll need a second.
Yes, Mr. President, I move to approve consent agenda items 6A through 6G.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, 7-0. Okay, and we'll circle back to item H that was pulled. And I need a motion first on item H. I can make the motion. Policy revisions, TASB update 122, and administrative recommendations and final action. But I do need a second.
Second.
Okay, second. Okay. Discussion. Mr. Grabowski, you pulled this. Well, let's start with you.
Yeah, I just would like to hear why we in executive got a red line version of all the changes. And it was very understandable, but that is not included in the agenda that we vote on 3 days later for the public. And can the public get a red line version like we did for the sake of transparency so everybody can see it?
I don't see why not, Morgan. Is there any reason why we can't share the red line version?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. It's been our standard practice to put the red lines in for the board to see, and then we release the clean versions over to the public. But if you all would like us to also start including the red line versions, so that the community members can see the red line versions as well from the clean policy, we can do that as well.
So just for people that were listening online, because Rusty's giving me that motion, that what Morgan said was that it's been our standard practice to put the clean version that will actually be approved and be in the policy manual on the board agenda, but going forward, there's no reason why we can't put both on there. The red line version obviously won't move forward into the final policy manual, but it would be obvious what the changes are. These are TASB updates that typically arise out of changes to legislative rules, et cetera, et cetera. So anything else any of the lawyer folks want to add?
Can I ask Morgan a question?
Yes.
Morgan, is it possible in the future to put the red line version for both and then what it will look like as a finished product right behind it so people can compare the two documents? They'll see what's being changed and how it will look.
Yeah, I can do that in one combined document for each policy.
Thank you, ma'am.
But do we have to agree on that as a board? I don't think one board member can make that decision.
No. Well, what we could do now is if we could either go ahead and vote on this, and we could direct in the future, the chair can ask when items are attached to an agenda item, what's included. And I've done that in the past with making sure that we had that information, people could see both items. So, I mean, whoever is chair at any given time could ask for that to happen. So, if that's the majority opinion of the board that they would like to see that, and we're not voting on a motion in that regard, but people can certainly say how they feel now, and I will take that into consideration on the next go-around, although I don't think there'll be another TASB update while I'm sitting as chair, but the next person certainly can do that. Is that?
Yeah,
okay
and
with you?
TASB updates typically happen every so quarter, a few months. Now, there will be some administrative policy updates that may come a little bit sooner than those policy updates. So that would be the only thing to consider is that would we want to do the administrative updates to the policy in that same way of doing a red line with the clean version into one PDF document.
So we're in the area of discussion, so I'll open it up, we'll continue that discussion. If people would like to just say what their opinion is, they certainly can do that during this period of time. Mr. Sitton?
Yeah, I think since we're going to be potentially changing a process, I think that should come up under future board business. If we as a board want to agree to change the way we've done it for years. I mean, a minute ago, you said it's up to the chair's discretion, and then you turned around and said, if the majority of the board wants to go that direction. So is
No.
it the chair's discretion, or is it the majority of the
It's
board?
the chair's discretion, and what I was saying is, I certainly, at least right now, me sitting in the chair, I will, if I heard from 5 other members who said, no, I think that's a terrible idea, then I wouldn't be inclined to most likely, I wouldn't be inclined to do that, although you as chair, you still could do that and have both put up there. So that's what I was saying, and so don't, that's not.
Well, I just wanted
Yeah.
clarification, because you said
I
both.
just clarified. No, okay, then I'll clarify. I was asking, I'm happy to listen to what other board members during this discussion period, what their opinions are on that topic. I will take that under advisement. I'll say it that way. Okay.
Mr. Scarfo?
Mr. Rush?
I would suggest that we start working our way back to the discussion of the policy on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay. Ms. Lamont Dixon, you.
I was just going to say, I think it should be up to the board chair on a case-by-case basis.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? No? Okay. Seeing none, then we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the updates as the motion was read, please show yes by raising your hand now. We're voting on the motion that I read. Item H, policy revision, TASB update 122 and administrative recommendations, final action. The motion is to approve that. We had a second. We've had discussion, and
Without changing, leaving it just as is, without a red line version going out?
well, we can't change this one, but we can change it in the future. And the board, whoever is the chair, can, when they put the agenda up, they could ask to have additional files attached. And I'm hearing that some people say, yeah, that's a good idea. Some who don't have an opinion, others saying that, yeah, the chair should have the sole responsibility to do that. And I agree with Ms. Lamont Dixon, and that's what I said. But as I said, look, I'm open to listening and taking things under advisement. So that's the motion. Discussion is closed. I reread it, and all those in favor? Opposed? 6-1. Okay. Now we will go back to our information items. And the next one, we already that's item B. A, Mr. Perkins, anything to report under intruder detection audit report?
Since our last board meeting, Mr. Scarfo, we've had no intruder detection audits. Therefore, there are no findings to present.
Okay, thank you. We've already completed item B. Item C, outside legal counsel. Any questions or discussion from the board regarding this item?
Yes.
Mr. Sitton?
Yeah, so I brought this up at the last month's meeting, and several people have alluded to it, either via email or in public comment. So I'm going to read some prepared notes based on why I wanted to bring this up. So historically, the board has given a group of attorneys to approve as additional legal counsel. This is generally done in a public board meeting, and when a special need arises, no further action is required. I want to emphasize special need arises. Individual board members have no authority to direct or instruct counsel on behalf of themselves or the balance of the board without appointment by the board. For the board appointment to occur, it must take place in publicly stated meeting with the appropriate corresponding agenda item. Again, I emphasize an individual board member may not utilize school district legal counsel for personal use or direct legal counsel on behalf of the board without the consent of the majority of the board in a public vote. Special needs has generally included real estate transactions, some personnel issues, general counsel, if general counsel is absent, as in tonight. Certain specific contract expertise is needed, some grievances, etc. What we've done in the past is given general counsel the ability to look at that pool and bring someone in that has a specific expertise for a specific situation that's needed to be handled. Here's a good example. The board held a special meeting on May 15th this year, of 2023, to deliberate and take possible action regarding adding Walsh and Gallegos to our basket of outside legal counsel for the sole purpose to handle an internal employee complaint, which was expected to take 4 to 6 weeks and is now in the 8th month. The following motion was made and subsequently passed. I move that the board appoint Walsh and Gallegos as additional legal counsel and authorize the administration to negotiate and execute all agreements and take all actions regarding the same. While we approved adding Walsh, we also gave all authority to negotiate and execute agreements to the administration. However, we met for a special Christmas edition special board meeting on December 21st, 2023, to deliberate and take possible action regarding employment of our current legal counsel. The vote to place Thomas Newman on leave with no cause passed 4-3. The explanation that was given was for his protection, even though he was doing what we authorized the administration to do back on May 15th. Since I believe August, we've had outside counsel sit in on our meetings as recommended by former counsel Stephanie Mayer to simply fill the gap after her resignation until new counsel was hired. One of those special events that I mentioned a minute ago. But new counsel was hired at the October board meeting by a vote of 5-1 with Mr. Holmes absent. Outside counsel continued to attend and give aid, but not at the request of the board. My question is, who has authorized current outside counsel to continue to provide legal advice when we voted to hire new counsel? We have board members telling current legal staff they don't represent the board. We have our own counsel. When was that decided and by whom? In addition, we have our normal daily tasks that legal must oversee: audits, employee grievances, open records requests, etc. So we put our internal counsel on paid leave for doing his job, tell his staff they don't represent us, and are paying outside counsel to try to fill in the gaps. My question is, how is this good stewardship, good fiduciary responsibility of public funds, or simply good business practices?
Sorry, Mr. Any other discussion?
I have the exact same question.
Any other discussion? Okay. Great, thank you. Next item is item D, updates from our board and associations and committees. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Okay. Our last item is 7E, Financial Services Report. Any questions or discussion from the board regarding this item? Okay. And last is consideration of topics for future board business. Okay, Mr. Sitton?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. At our December board meeting, I requested a discussion regarding board behavior and board governance, a subject normally picked up during our Team of 8 training in the fall. The board agreed to discuss, but the confusion was doing it in a public meeting or in our Team of 8 training. We agreed to the Team of 8 training, but we just received an email requesting availability in May for this training. We have board members that don't understand or refuse to understand their role in governance, board policy, board protocol, etc. Most of this should have already been addressed with the individuals by the board president. And if that has happened and the behavior has continued, then it needs to be addressed by the entire board. So I would request, instead of waiting until May and allowing this behavior to continue, that it be put on the next agenda in February.
And what exactly do you want to put on the agenda?
I would like a discussion regarding board governance, the role of the board, board governance, board policy, and board protocol.
Okay. Okay, all those who would like to have that on a future board agenda? I'm sorry, you said February? Okay. On the February agenda? All those who would like to see that happen, please raise your hand. All those who do not? Okay, so that request at this point in time won't be on the February meeting. There's only 3 who were in favor of it. Any other items that, Ms. Lamont Dixon?
Yeah, I have a question for Mr.
Yep.
Rush. So with us not receiving an answer about the outside legal counsel, as a board, like what can we do in that respect? Can we reach out to the Texas Ethics Commission? I mean, how do we resolve that? Or does it need to be on a future agenda item to continue to discuss? I'm just trying to have a clear understanding of when we have a direct question about outside legal counsel based on official votes that the board made in the past several months, how do we proceed forward when there is no answer about how those decisions were made?
So I think I need, sorry, I am also recovering from my 10-day stint and coughing my head off. So I think I need to understand your question a little bit better. What exactly is the question on the table that you are hoping to have answered at a future agenda?
So based on what Mr. Sitton shared earlier about outside legal counsel, the board did not vote to actually have additional outside legal counsel to be a part of our meetings. So the question was asked, how did that happen? Like, how did it come about? So there was no response to that question, which is fine. But I think as a board, legally, do we have any rights to find out what the answer actually is. And so, my first thought is, do you reach out to the Ethics Commission to get those questions answered? In what way can we find out why or how we have additional outside legal counsel that the board did not officially approve?
So the Texas Ethics Commission would not have any jurisdiction over the practice of law in the state of
Okay.
Texas, but the State Bar of Texas would. But the State Bar of Texas is not going to have a record of what Humble ISD did and what engagement agreements the district has with various outside firms. Now, I myself have confirmed, just for my own sake, I went and looked at your CH approved vendors list for the last several years. I think about every 2 years there's a new updated engagement agreement, and your roster has historically been 3 firms that got approved in that CH process. That would be Rogers, Morrison, Grover, Thompson and Horton, and Spalding, Nichols, Lamp and Ling Law, formerly known as Karchevsky, Bradshaw, Spalding. So sorry, lots of words in that. My own firm, I'll disparage it. With regard to the additional counsel with Walsh Gallegos, they have not been approved in that manner, and the 3 firms that have been approved in that manner all have engagement letters that provide very broad, you can call us for anything style engagements, right? Like, we're all full service law firms, all 3 of us, that provide schools with counsel on personnel issues like I do with Mr. Gardner quite often, with special ed law, with you name it, right? We're top to bottom, that's what we do for schools. With regard to your additional legal counsel from Walsh Gallegos, if that was it would depend on how the motion was, and if the motion was to approve them for a specific purpose, then that is their engagement for that specific purpose.
No,
It
right.
goes
Now,
down
that
to the
is
letter.
correct. We did vote to hire Walsh and Gallegos. I'm talking about having additional outside counsel sit in on our closed sessions that we did not vote on.
Just like any other lawyer in the state of Texas, I, along with every other lawyer for the 3 firms that work for this district, serve at the pleasure of the Board of Trustees. And if the Board of Trustees said we do not want outside legal counsel in our closed sessions, we want, or we want to not engage this particular firm, we want somebody else to be in there, that's the discretion of the board.
But is
Now,
it
your
the whole board or 1 or 2 people?
So your board policy will say that who is authorized to contact outside legal counsel, that is going to be the superintendent of schools, that is going to be your board president, and anybody who has delegated that authority by board action.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, then it is now 9:29. Meeting is closed.